like it might just be us. So Linda, I told Stephen what we can do is just kind of go through the process. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. And then what we'll do is just share this recording with, the office and stuff. So,
all right.
Linda, have you applied for PPP? Are you familiar with it?
No, not really.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
Good deal.
All right. Well, take it away, Stephen.
Okay. The good news, Linda, is you have time. That was the first thing I wanted to kind of lay out. The program does run through the end of this month. Some lenders are shutting things down a little bit early, but technically the program runs, you can apply through March 31st. And actually right now, the SBA portal is open exclusively to those employers who have less than 20 employees, which obviously as real estate agents, you guys, typically it's just you. There might be 2 or 3 of you if there's a team involved, but you guys can apply right now exclusively through, I believe it's 5 p.m. on Tuesday. After that, they're going to open it up to all employers, 20 employees or more. So right now you have a few more days to get your application in exclusively for you all. The first thing I wanted to cover was eligibility. There's always a lot of questions about eligibility. For you all, basically the only eligibility requirement is that you were in operation as of February the 15th of 2020. I would assume most everybody is in that boat.
What date did you say? I'm sorry.
February the 15th of 20. So 2/15/20, you had to be in operation.
Okay, thanks.
That is for first draw. If you've not applied for a PPP loan prior, that's really the only eligibility requirement. If you have received a PPP loan already and you're applying for a second PPP loan or quote unquote second draw, there is an additional eligibility requirement for that. That is, you have to be able to show evidence of a 25% reduction in revenue from a quarter in 2020 compared to the corresponding quarter of 2019. So let me break that down a little bit. So you have to look at either first quarter of 20, second quarter of 20, third quarter of 20, fourth quarter of 20, and then look back at the same quarter in 2019. If there's at least a 25% reduction in revenue in any of those quarters, you're eligible. For you guys, because your loan amounts will be less than $150,000, you're not going to have to show evidence of that reduction at the time of application. However, you will need to show evidence of that reduction at the time of forgiveness. So just kind of however you all, I don't know how it is in real estate, but each of you are probably different. I'm sure you have some sort of tracking mechanism as far as revenue based on months, quarters, whatever. Just have that at the ready. You can do it at the time of application if you want, but it's not required. It will be required come forgiveness time.
I'll just insert in there real quick too, for any of our agents. I just contacted Bridgie at the office and said, can you send me a list of all of my sales in 2019 and 2020, put them in a spreadsheet, look to make sure I had a 25% discount or reduction. And you just get that information from Bridgie. So
easy enough. And if you have that data handy, basically the simple formula, some of us are better at math than others. You just look at that quarter, you take that 2019 quarter, you subtract the 2020, the corresponding 2020 quarter, you get the difference, you divide that number by the original 19 quarter, and then you multiply it by 100. So 19 quarter minus the same 20 quarter and then you divide it by the 19 quarter, multiply by 100. All right, clear as mud, right? The next question is, it always surrounds supporting documentation. What am I going to need to turn in with my completed application? What does the bank want to see? I will tell you, we have our own certain requirements. It's probably going to vary lender by lender. For you all, again, most of you all, I would assume, are going to be Schedule C filers. We're just going to be looking at that 1040 Schedule C. So we're going to need a copy of that, and that can be from either 2019 or 2020. The SBA kind of gives you some flexibility. You can use 19 or 20. So we're going to be needing a copy of that. We're going to be needing a copy of your 1099. I would assume you guys, the bulk of you are 1099. I think it's miscellaneous. Front and back copy of your driver's license. And then also, again, we're going to need evidence of the fact that you were in operation as of February the 15th of 2020. So Schedule C, 1099, front and back of your driver's license, and then evidence that you were in operation February 15th. Typically, that's all lenders are going to need. Going back to the Schedule C, everybody always wants to know, what do I need to send in? Am I eligible? The next thing is, how much can I get? So the loan amount calculation, actually, it's really good timing for those of you who have not applied yet, because actually this week, the White House, in conjunction with the SBA, they actually reconfigured that loan calculation, and that has now been increased. So before we were looking at line 31 of your 1040 Schedule C, which was your net income. The White House recommended and the SBA agreed, starting actually today, you can submit your loan amount calculation based on that line 7, which is your gross income. Typically a much larger number, therefore we can get you more money. So the formula to figure out your loan amount, you take that line 7, your gross income, you're going to divide that by 12 to get your average monthly payroll cost. I know you guys don't really consider it payroll because you're self-employed, but that's how the SBA views it. So line 7 divided by 12 to get your average monthly payroll cost. Then we're going to multiply that average monthly payroll cost by 2.5 to get the loan amount. So for example, for self-employed, sole proprietor, independent contractors, you guys, the SBA actually caps your loan amount at $20,833. So basically, to arrive at that number, they took 100,000, they divided it by 12 to get the average monthly payroll cost, which I think is $8,333. Multiply that by 2.5 to get the 20,833. So line 7 divided by 12, multiply by 2.5. That's your loan amount. Trying to think, covered period. People always ask, how long do I have to spend this money? The covered period on the first go round, they gave you could choose either 8 weeks or 24 weeks. They have now switched that. They've given you guys a little more flexibility. Basically, the minimum is still 8 weeks. The maximum is still 24 weeks. But if you spend the money in 14 weeks, then that can be your covered period. And the covered period is essentially your day of disbursement, the day you get the funds, the day the funds actually go in your account, 14 weeks out from there, or 24 weeks out from there. It's up to you. Basically, it's contingent upon how long it takes you to spend that money. So trying to think what else. Eligible expenses. So everybody always asks, what can I spend this money on? For you all, typically it's just going to be payroll. However, you can also spend it outside of payroll. You can spend it on rent if you have rent. or mortgage interest. So if you own your own home, whatever the average or whatever the monthly mortgage interest is on that, you can pay that mortgage interest with the loan proceeds. The other things you can use: utilities, water, gas, electric. I know you all use a lot of, you drive around a lot. You've got a lot of gas expenses. Gasoline is also an acceptable eligible expense. They have also included PPE. You know, a lot of businesses were spending a lot of money on PPE. They've included that, and they've also this time around included certain software, technology, things like that. So again, for you guys, more than likely, you're going to use it exclusively for payroll costs. The biggest thing you need to remember: don't go using all of your loan proceeds on your water bill, your electric bill, your gas bill, mortgage interest. You have to use at least 60% of your loan exclusively on payroll costs. The other 40%, you can use it on whatever. Most people use 100% of it on payroll costs. But if you choose to use it for anything other than payroll, just make sure you use at least 60% of it for payroll costs to make it eligible for forgiveness on the back end. Speaking of forgiveness, people always want to know about forgiveness. How can I get the money, and then how can I get this loan forgiven? So for you all, the SBA has made it really, really simple. They have just rolled out, actually it was the 3rd week of January. It is, and I think it was included in Kimberly's email, the forgiveness application. It's form 3508S, and that is for borrowers whose loan amount is less than 150,000. So basically it's a 1-page document. You fill out the top portion, which is your name, your address. One item that they have added that I wanted to go over with you all: there's a box at the top of the new forgiveness application that has the NAICS code. I would assume you guys are probably familiar with NAICS code in real estate. No? Basically, it's a classification system that the IRS uses. For you all, and grab a pen, I'm going to give it to you. For real estate agents, the NAICS code, you're going to, in that box, you're going to need to put the code 531210. 531210. That next code is exclusively for real estate agents. So that's the top portion of forgiveness. The rest of that 1-page document, it's going to ask you your loan amount, your loan number, your SBA loan number. It's going to ask for the disbursement date, the date that you received the funds. It's going to ask for the covered period, again, which the first date of that covered period is the day you received your funds, your disbursement date. And then the end date of that covered period is going to be basically the day you spent the last of those proceeds. So if it takes you 14 weeks, whatever, the last day of that 14-week period is, that's your covered period. You can apply for forgiveness 8 weeks after your disbursement date. You don't have to wait, the full 20. If you choose a 24-week covered period, you can actually apply 10 weeks in if you want. It's completely up to you. Again, the funds do have to be exhausted though.
Steven, is it okay? And this is one of the questions I know I called you with the other night.
Sure.
Just using, in one week, like what if you use that? Like, are you able to use it in less than 8 weeks?
Yes, you
Okay.
can use the fund. You just have to wait to apply for forgiveness.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, and so if you want to apply for your first draw loan, receive those funds, and then turn around and apply for a second draw, you most certainly can do that. I will tell you, some lenders are processing those applications. Some have chosen not to do that for different reasons. So just check with your lender that you received your first draw. And it may be worth asking at the time of the first draw application, once I get these funds and I spend them, can I turn around and prior to March 31st, go ahead and apply for that second draw? They should be able to tell you pretty quickly if they're doing that. Any other questions real quick? I feel like I'm kind of rambling here. I know everybody has questions.
I know one of
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just
Go
going to
ahead,
say, one of the questions I had when I was filling mine out too was, okay, so this year I just started with an LLC. But since I was basing everything off of 2019, my accountant and the lender told me to not use my LLC at all in the application and whatnot. So I don't know if you can touch on that. Just, if people have questions on like, should it be through them or through their LLC? How that works.
No, that's a great question. I would assume you are, let's take you for example, I would assume it's a single member LLC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are viewed exactly the same. I mean, you're still considered a 1040 Schedule C filer, correct?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Still the same thing. Just as you're an independent contractor, sole proprietor, single member LLC, they're all treated the same.
Gotcha. Linda, what was your question?
Let me think. So we didn't mention marketing things. We couldn't use any of that for what would be considered marketing expenses, right?
Are you talking about including in that formula for the loan amount?
Yes.
So if that number is included in that line 7, if your marketing costs are included in that line 7, then you can include it in the calculation for your loan amount.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't use the funds, the loan for marketing.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. Yeah. Because I know something I did too is I just opened up another account at the bank that was my PPP account. And so put all that money, deposited it into that account, wrote myself a check for the amount, and then put it in another personal account. On that check, I just put payroll in the memo line, have a copy of it, make sure you've got your documentation for, if you ever did get audited or whatnot. I mean, I know, like you said, you don't have to have it for the forgiveness, but just having a paper trail's smart, right?
Absolutely. Yes, a lot of our borrowers opened up a separate PPP exclusive account. And I think we talked the other night, the cleaner, in the event of an SBA review or audit, the cleaner your documentation, the easier. If you have commingled your PPP funds with, your personal account, things can get a little hairy in the event of an audit. So we want to be able to, if we do get audited, everything we send in, we want there to not be any questions about what's going on in those accounts. I will tell you, the likelihood of you all being audited is pretty slim, at least from what we are seeing. I don't want to say they're rubber stamping these forgiveness applications, because we have had some self-employed individuals get reviewed. But for the most part, they're leaving you guys alone, and just, they're trusting you to use the funds properly. And just, when you do get these funds, try to hold true to, the spirit of the program, which is to keep small businesses afloat. This program has been a true lifeline for a lot of our small business owners, you guys included. 2020 was a really, really tough year. And the PPP program, it's gotten some bad press, but overall, in my opinion, it has done way more good. Has there been some fraud? Yes. In any government program, there's gonna be fraud, period. There's no way around it. Any system people are going to try to take advantage of. But in my opinion, those that we have gotten these funds to, it's been a lifesaver and business saver. So just keep that in mind, when you're using these funds. Trying to think, circling back to forgiveness really quickly. In the event, I always feel like I need to say this, in the event that your loan is not fully forgiven, if it's fully rejected, or if there's partial forgiveness, just know that whatever the balance is, it's going to be 1% interest, and the maturity is 5 years. So basically you're looking at 1% interest over 60 months. So just keep that in mind. But again, more than likely, as long as you fill out that forgiveness application properly, and submit that to your lender in a timely fashion, you're going to be fine. And just so you know, that's another question people have: when can I apply for forgiveness? The latest that you can apply, I told you 8 weeks from disbursement date's the earliest, but the latest that you can apply for forgiveness is 10 months from the end of your covered period. So the very last day that those loan proceeds are exhausted, from that day, you have 10 months from then to apply for forgiveness. If you go 10 months in a day, your bank's going to send you something saying, hey, you owe this in principal, you owe this in interest, and the interest is running from the disbursement date. So just set a timer, put something down on a calendar, just make sure you get that forgiveness application filled out completely and submitted to whoever you did your PPP loan through. So that's really kind of the quick rundown. One other item I will tell you, SBA.gov is the official SBA website. It is filled with a lot of good information, not only about PPP. There are other federal programs out there, a lot of them actually right now. The EIDL is probably one you've heard about. There's a shuttered venue operators grant. There's a lot of them. So there's a lot of good information. They have a lot of good FAQ PDFs on there that you can kind of scroll through. But again, feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to speak with anybody, whether they're a client or not. Again, we just want to help. These are unprecedented times, and this money was allocated to help, and it is doing that, and we want to continue to do that until all the money is gone, or everybody who needs money has gotten it. So
Awesome. All right. Well, Linda or Tammy, if either of y'all have any more questions?
I'm good. Thank you, though. Thank you for having this, and thank you for sharing, Stephen.
absolutely. Thank you all for hopping on. And let me give my, I think it was in my email, my contact information was at the bottom, but just real quick, my direct office line's 270-767-3375. And email is Stephen C, and that's Stephen with a PH, Stephen C at cfsvcs.com. And or if you want to swing by and see me, I'm here at the new Sycamore Center, south side of Murray. I'd be happy to sit down and talk with you if you're more comfortable communicating that way. So let me know how I can help. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get all this information out to all the ones that weren't able to be on here, and they can take advantage of it too. So
sure. Thanks.
All
Thanks
right.
for organizing.
Have a good one. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.